secret combos, hidden mechanics, and more. I've got one useful tip for every single weapon in Monster Hunter Wilds, plus a few extras for you because I couldn't decide to pick one. Let's go! Hit me with any you've got in the comments down below. We'll start with the Greatsword. The Greatsword is a large and powerful weapon that deals heavy damage but quite slow. The long wind-up from the charged attack is typically how you will deal your most consistent damage. However, now with focus mode, you can actually aim those strikes a little bit better if the monster moves out of your initial attack area. But the main tip here is to tackle rather than dodge. Tackling will allow you to maintain your charge state if you perfect guard it, and you can use its hyper armor to keep yourself standing rather than dodging and trying to get yourself out of the way. You can tackle by pressing circle or B on an Xbox controller. Sword and Shield is a pretty beginner friendly option that has some fantastic combos, but it's actually got a hidden combo that's not listed in the controls that's called Scaling Slash. This slash allows you to jump up into the air. You can use this to mount enemies, but it also has a finishing combo on the end. In order to trigger this, you'll need to do a perfect rush combo, which is started in focus mode. You can then extend this combo by pressing the triangle button to vault yourself into the air. Circle will then crash you back down, or if you press circle and square, you'll do like a shield plunge and like do a finishing move from that. Just so I don't have to keep repeating myself as well, if you are using an Xbox controller, Y is the same as triangle and B is the same as circle. I think most of us gamers probably know that by now, but just wanted to make sure that's clear. All right, so you need to hit the full combo in order to actually trigger this Scaling Slash. If you miss the last string of your perfect rush, you won't actually trigger the leap up animation. Also, the Sword and Shield is the only weapon that you can use items without having to sheath your weapons as well. The dual blades are one of the fastest moving attack weapons in the game. Now, obviously, the main focus of the dual blades is to build up that demon mode and then use blade dance to deal as much damage as possible. The archdemon mode can be triggered after a demon mode, which gives you some of those demon mode benefits just in the normal mode. However, the main thing I wanted to point out here is the perfect evade. The dual blades don't really have any defensive capabilities. You'll be heavily relying on your evade skills. If you perfect evade, you will enter this demon boost state where you glow blue. It's very noticeable on your character. Your dodges will then turn into a spinning attack, and you'll also get an attack bonus while this is active. Mastering that perfect evade is one of the best skills that you can do as a dual blades player. The longsword is a great all-round weapon that heavily leans into the spirit gauge. Now, the spirit gauge has more than two states. It doesn't just go from filling up and then going red. There is actually a step in the middle, and the best way to level up your spirit gauge is by using the Y combo or the triangle combo, and then following up with spirit round slashes from right trigger, and right trigger. This will then put you into that next state, and then completing this combo again will be the fastest way for you to get into that red gauge state so you can deal the maximum amount of damage as a longsword user. The hunting horn sounds like a not fun weapon, but it actually kind of is, and you should probably give it a try. You may know that the buffs you can apply per notes are different depending on the horn, and also the echo bubble is different, so make sure you are checking that when you are forging new horns. But also by pressing R2 and X, you can create an echo bubble, which is a ground buff that differs depending on your horn. This further buffs you on top of the already buffs that you'll be doing from singing your songs. Now, the color of the buffs on the UI show the level of the buffs applied, purple being the highest. You can perform all three of your stocked melodies at once, so you don't need to trigger them manually, but also mastering that performance beat where you can trigger an attack during a performance will significantly increase your skill as a hunting horn player. The lance may lack attack combos, but it actually has several different counter attacks that you can trigger, including the ability to charge your counter by holding circle up to 3 levels that can be released when a monster attacks you. You can also perfect guard here as well. When you perfect guard, you'll automatically trigger a counter attack that can then be comboed into your other follow-up attacks as well. Focus mode makes the lance guarding significantly easier here, just like it does with a lot of these heavy weapons, so you can make sure you're facing the right way. Also, when you do hold your charge, you can actually also press X to bunker yourself down and essentially block any incoming damage from any of those much larger hits that you typically can't counter. The light bowgun is the high mobility version of the firearms. Now, the bowgun is great for mobile ranged combat, especially while on your sacred, as you can have access to almost all of your moves while you are mounted with the light bowgun, except for the rapid fire mode. You've also got access to all of your ammo ammo types while you're mounted. It's a great way to deal follow-up damage when enemies are moving away from you. And then you can jump off and trigger a jumping reload to quickly reload and then enter your rapid fire state and deal as much damage as possible. Now, for both bowguns, make sure you are checking the ammo types before forging them, as they are different depending on the bowgun. For the heavy bowgun, the slower variant of these two, the main difference between the light and the heavy bowguns is overall your mobility. Plus, like the minigun gauge system that the bowgun has rather than the rapid fire for doing damage. With the heavy bowgun, rather than dodging like you would with the light bowgun, you typically want to guard here. Now, there is also a perfect guard mechanic as well. Now, you can guard with the heavy bowgun by pressing triangle and circle, or Y and B. So if you prefer a more stationary, guard-focused, ranged playstyle, the heavy bowgun is the option you want to pick. Another thing to note for both bowguns is that you can auto-craft ammo. By opening up your crafting menu, you can set it to auto-craft, so when you find those resources in the world, if you have the resources available to you, you will auto-craft that ammo type, so you don't have to worry about doing it yourself and keeping those ammo stocks stocked while you're out exploring. The Gunlance is a highly offensive gun variant with a main focus on its Wyvern Fire as its heavy damage dealing attack. You get 2 charges of Wyvern Fire at the start of a combat encounter, and you can regen this over time by dealing damage and just the general overtime regen. However, because in Monster Hunter Wilds you can have 2 weapons at once, you essentially have 4 Wyvern Fire charges if you equipped 2 Gunlances at once. So you can start every hunt with 4 Wyvern Fires. Essentially here you can Wyvern Fire, then jump on your mount, switch to the other weapon, and then Wyvern Fire and Wyvern Fire. Say that 20 times fast. The hammer is next, and this is a slow but heavy hitting and stunning weapon because of its great bludgeoning damage. A great combo for this weapon is the spinning bludgeon, which will spin you around in a circle after triggering a triangle attack and then holding triangle and circle. Now, what you may not know is that you can exit this spinning bludgeon spin at any time by pressing triangle, and any time you exit will actually have a different follow-up animation that changes depending on where you are in that 5-hit combo of spinning bludgeon. You can also maintain your charge with a charged step that has invincibility frames while you're holding down the right trigger and charging up your heavy hit. If an enemy is coming towards you, you can press the circle button to step, which will maintain your charges while also keeping the weapon locked ready to load, rather than actually dodging, which will then lose your charges. The switch axe is one of the funnest weapons because it's an axe and it's a sword. Now, unlike other weapons, the switch axe has multiple focus strike finishes. This is called the focus assault morph combination. Now, during the focus strike wound attack, you have the option to morph your weapon like mid combo. If you morph it to the axe, you'll do like a slam down axe finisher and then finish the combo in the axe state. If you morph it to the sword, you do a sword finisher and finish it in the sword state, which has a follow-up animation that can do an elemental discharge for significant damage, which is perfect if you're using a specific switch axe that is matching the elemental weakness of the monster that you are actually fighting. The charge blade switches between an axe and a sword and shield. My favorite thing about this weapon is also in focus mode is that you can immediately switch between the axe variant to the sword and shield combo by focus striking as long as you don't hit a wound. This will then allow you to charge up your vials or just use the sword and shield for guards or whatever you wanted to use it for. If you do hit a wound and you're in sword and shield mode, you'll instantly switch back to the axe variant, which you can then use for the elemental follow-ups or any discharges that you want to do with this weapon. The insect glaive is quite a mobile weapon, and keeping that focus mode active at almost all times is fantastic so that you can not only pop wounds, but when you do pop wounds with a insect glaive, you get your 3 extracts all at once. You can then immediately combo this into holding circle for a strong descending slash and then press circle again for a rising spiral slash, which is a extremely flashy attack that will deal significant damage. This will consume your extracts, but your bug will actually go out and get you some of those extracts back so you can quickly charge them up again or focus on another wound to maximize those extracts. The bow might be the last weapon on this list, but it's definitely not the least. I would recommend this just in general, but you should set your focus mode to toggle in the control settings so you don't have to constantly hold down that left trigger or L2 button, so you'll always have that reticule up without having to hold that button. One of the main struggles with the bow is actually applying wounds, and the best way to do this is with the tracer shot that you can trigger by holding R2 and then pressing square. This will then have all of your next set of arrows home in on that specific spot, making it easier to trigger a wound. And then if you do trigger a wound, you can then press R1 for the focus, fire, hailstorm attack, but make sure you hold that down, as the longer you hold it down, the more arrows will actually go out. And that's 1 and a bit tips for every single weapon in Monster Hunter Wilds. Let me know any I have missed and any of your favorite tips in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.